Hi, this is Ezekiel Chew, founder of Asiaforexmentor. Mentor. So in this video, I'll be revealing what I do on a weekly basis, and I'll be sharing my analysis for this week, which is the 22nd of August 2016. So you can refer to this video throughout the week to spot for trade setups. The analysis in this video will be my trading plan for the week. So in my weekly analysis videos, I'll be sharing pairs that have possible setup for the week or pairs that are worth taking note. Okay, so here's the first pair. GBPCHF, right? GBPCHF again is the one of the pairs that we have been talking about, but not this pair, but is one of the main pound pairs that I've been talking about for the last few weeks, whereby after the big Brexit movement downwards, it headed down further and then it formed a low. So price retraces back up and is now coming back down to the all-time low previously. So now it's kind of forming a double bottom formation, right? And if you look at the MACD, there is also the divergence. Okay, so this is in fact, it's a very good signal in technical terms, whereby it's showing good signs that the downtrend is kind of weak, right, compared to the previous one, right? This is slowly moving down, and the MACD is slowly showing weaker momentum than what is it before. So given that, there's a good chance that you may head up further, right, for its movement upwards, and then the highest point where you possibly stop will be here, and then the ultimate highs will be the top here, right? So for us to confirm that price is going to move up, I would like to use the highs of this bar here. If price does close above the highs of this bar, then it's a good indication that the market is moving upwards, right? But all in all, we have been seeing is that there is no bars that close below the previous bar low, which is the red line here. No bars close below, and it kind of form a 2-pin bars that we can see over here. But if price couldn't break up and does close below the tail of this 2-pin, then it's heading its way downwards, after which then I'll be looking to go short. So to mark it, I'll plot this as a high and this as the low. So these two are the breaking points that I want to see, the highs of this bar and the lows of this bar, right? Whichever place that it breaks, then I'll be looking to go in that direction. Okay, so this is for GBPCHF. So next pair is GBPUSD. We've talked about this. We've talked about the movement where it breaks downwards, and last week itself I mentioned that it's meeting the rejection of the BB. Good chances, and it's forming a double bottom and it's going to go up, and yes, it did. So the previous pair GBPCHF is a bit late, right? This pair itself has already gone up, right? So let's see. Okay, weekly, monthly, last month itself it kind of formed a pin, right? Like I mentioned, for it to head up all the way, for this pin to work, what we want to see is it's its official closure above the high of the pin. So as for now, the GBPUSD, it's heading up, and then next stop where you will possibly hit to is the highs over here. Okay, so this is GBPUSD. Again, the next pair is GBPCAD. We mentioned over here, and then last week we talked about this, and it closed below, but after that, the next following day it opened above to form. If you combine these two bars, it forms a 2-day pin, which is a very good setup, and that's the reason why price is heading up. So again, this pair itself, like all GBP pairs, they are forming the double bottom formation. So all GBP pairs are forming the same formation. Good chance we're going to have a retracement upwards unless they are further news. But as for now, because there really isn't any big momentum or big major news after the Brexit, we can expect price to do a little bit retracement upwards itself. Okay, so this is GBPCAD. So next pair, EUR/GBP, Euro Pound. So this one I mentioned, whereby price closed above, we expect price to head up higher, and it did. So it went up after it closed above, it went up to almost 100 pips, right? So then it came back down to test the O line, and it's kind of holding well. So we can expect price to hold around this area and expect price to range up higher to the previous highs and possibly upwards. So as for now, Euro GBP, it's still overall in upwards movement, getting held back by the previous highs over here. Okay, so USD SGD. USD SGD is a pair we have been talking about. Price has been ranging, couldn't break through. Last week itself, it formed a weekly pin bar. So a pin bar bouncing off my major 3 levels. So it's an indication that price is like trying to head up. So what I did is that I've drawn a little trend line over here, marking the weekly highs from here to the previous highs, and then over here. So we can see that price is now heading up to test the weekly highs. So if I go over to the daily time frame, what we can note is that price is now heading towards the trend line over here, and is also heading towards my Bollinger Band, my 365 and 150. If price does eventually close above these 4 crucial levels, then we can note is that USD SGD is now on its way upwards and no longer ranging sideways, but on its way upwards to the next highs that we can have over here, which this line marks the monthly 150 level. Right, so this is a very good indication of the rejection that is stopping the USD SGD. Right, and from what we can know is that for this pair itself, it respects all my levels a lot. So it respects the weekly levels, all these 3 lines and the lows over here, and it's also going to respect the daily 3 levels plus the trend lines at the top over here. So whichever direction it breaks is going to be a good direction upwards or downwards here. So from what we can see in the chart itself, price seems to be heading its way upwards. Okay, so next pair, Nasdaq, which is also pretty much similar as the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones. So price has been heading up ever since, breaking the all-time highs over here, and is now in the uptrend, right, for the overall stock market. And after heading up, which is what I mentioned when it closed above, we have mentioned that it is in the uptrend. Price has been heading up still, and then which is what we've expected. So price went back down to form a pin bar and another pin bar. So all this while, these are all pretty good signs that showing that the Nasdaq as a whole is still heading up upwards. So it's probably going to head up upwards until we see the major news from the US non-farm payroll. So other than that, it should be steadily moving in this direction, if not just minor movements sideways. Nothing major, just steady movements all this while. Okay, so this is for the Nasdaq and the overall stock market. So next pair is the gold, XAUUSD. I've mentioned this pair for many weeks now. I talked about this pin bar last week itself. I mentioned a line over here. So last week itself, price is retracing sideways, couldn't close below. So all this while, we are still waiting for no entry as for now, but we notice that price has broken the trend line. So once price has officially closed this level, we can expect price to head its way downwards to the next lows over here. So if on the other pair, which is XAUUSD, which is silver, we have talked about this. I talked about the pin bar, I talked about the levels, which is pretty much the same, but for silver, it has moved. So although they are correlated, they may move slightly differently, or one pair may move faster than the other. So in this scenario, silver has moved faster than gold, whereby it went below and then it has closed down, and then I mentioned after going down, it's going to reach the lows. So it went down to the low, which by the last Friday bar itself. When Monday opened, it opened with a gap below the rejection levels over here. So usually when it opens below a gap may close, but all in all, we are now seeing a downtrend in silver itself. So possibly it's going to retrace, but all in all, it's still going, the direction for silver is still bearish. Alright, so that's all the analysis for this week. My live seminar, possibly the last one for this year, is on the 3rd and 4th of September in Singapore. This will be the last week for registration. I'll be closing registration at the end of this week itself. This is the final week for registration. With that said, I will see you all next week.